Let's get to our guest now. Ariel Cohen is Senior Fellow at Atlantic Council, joining us from Washington, D.C. We want to talk about the latest over Ukraine tensions over Russia's military build-up near Ukraine entering this potentially decisive week. We also had the phone call on Saturday between Presidents Putin and Biden that went for just over an hour. How do you see things? This is obviously a big concern, and it does look at the moment, as Denise was saying, that there is a huge build-up on the border and we could be seeing an invasion imminently.
Indeed, and this is the most tragic, the most acute crisis we've seen in Europe since the collapse of the Soviet Union. We'll have to go back to the blockade of Berlin back in the 1940s to find something comparable in Europe, and to 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis, when we came close to the mutual annihilation. So this is what Putin wants. He wants to feel and act equal to the United States. He wants the parity as a great power, and I think he's getting it. The question is he getting what he's trying to do, which is to grab Ukraine, to push NATO out of Eastern Europe so that Russia gets freedom of action there and rebuilds its sphere of influence, and in case of Ukraine and Belarus, rebuilds the Slavic, Russia-dominated empire.
One of the things that he seems to be getting in the process is higher energy prices. That has to benefit Russia quite a bit. I know the last time we spoke, Ariel, I was talking about the degree to which Russia has been kind of insulating itself from the potential of economic sanctions. It was interesting to read the report in the New York Times about the role that the Finnish president has been playing as interpreter between the West and East lately. Do you think that there is a diplomatic solution, or have we crossed a line in Putin's mind and there's no turning back?
I think there is still an attempt by Putin to get what he wants without a shooting war. In Chinese strategy, Sun Tzu, the great general from 2,400 years ago, says the greatest art of war is winning a war without shooting one arrow, right? If you think about how we won the Cold War with Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush, we did not shoot at the Russians, at the Soviets. They didn't shoot at us, and we still won the Cold War. However, if we do not give Putin what he wants, I think he will invade Ukraine. He has an excuse. His demands are impossible to fulfill, such as rolling back NATO to the lines of 1997. And I think he deliberately demanded such harsh demands in order to have a pretext, a casus belli, to invade Ukraine.
What kind of penalties do you think you would see the US and Europe impose on Moscow? There's talk about potentially cutting Russia off from that global payment system known as SWIFT, or what other sort of sanctions would you foresee if we do see the worst?
So Russian banking system is dependent on SWIFT, which is an international payment system, and already European banks and some American banks pushed to take those sanctions off the table. If we take those sanctions off the table, and if Germany does not stop Nord Stream 2 pipeline that Russia and German partners invested $11 billion, that's a pipeline from Russia to Germany directly on the bottom of the Baltic Sea, then we are giving up the sanctions that would really hurt. Beyond that, I think that the Russians will still be able to trade oil. There may be an attempt to cut the European dependence on gas. Germany is dependent over 50% on Russian gas right now. And Russia is sitting on $600 billion in reserves. So in Putin's mind, again, he may think that he can weather it, survive it, and get into history books as the one who recreated the Russian Slavic, Russian Orthodox imperial core. In the long term, it may be too much for Russia. Russia, without access to Western technology, to Western credits, to markets in Europe for Russian raw materials. I checked just 2 days ago. Russia is exporting 75% of its revenue in raw materials. So if we start shutting that down in the longer term, it may hurt Russia. However, we have a new kid on the block, a big kid, called China. China is importing some amount of Russian energy, gas, oil, of course, metals, timber and lumber, and the Chinese will squeeze the Russians to get the best deals possible. They are already paying 50% of the European prices for the Russian gas. So if, let's say in Europe, it's 500, the Chinese would pay 250.
Now, President Biden has already said if there is an invasion, Nord Stream 2 is not a possibility. So Putin is really gambling on that front. But I'm curious to get your take very quickly here. Maybe I can give you a minute and 15 seconds.
Sure.
Has Putin not been trying to all along kind of undermine the Ukrainian government? And isn't there kind of pro-Russian sentiment I'm thinking of Donbass, I'm thinking of Crimea, in areas of eastern Ukraine? Does he have some sense of, I don't want to call them allies, but sympathizers in the on the Ukrainian side in eastern Ukraine?
Well, first of all, parts of Donbass are occupied. Those people are picking up Russian passports. Russia is giving them the passports like candy. So they're switching their citizenship to become Russians. In the Crimea, where I'm from, a lot of people didn't care about Russia, but the Russians invaded and grabbed it, and the Ukrainians didn't shoot back. The rest of Ukraine is mixed. In the south, there are people who would not care. Further west, the Ukrainians will shoot. I am convinced that there'll be resistance, there'll be guerrilla warfare, and the U.S. already told Russia, we're going to support the Ukrainian freedom fighters. So yes, Putin is gambling. Yes, he thinks, in my opinion, he can win this particular round.
Tense times. Ariel, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for making time for us. Ariel Cohen is Senior Fellow at the Atlantic Council. We're talking Ukraine, Russia, U.S. tension here on DBA.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to get more content like this.